The Niners had bad luck this year. You can list all the bad luck the Niners had, from the injuries to the pandemic to getting evicted, all that stuff. This is the quarterback room they wanted, and this is the offensive line room they wanted.
Yeah.
Now, they thought they would have Ben Garland, but who's Ben Garland? You can't say, hey, we lost Ben Garland. I mean, come on, man.
Right. So go ahead.
You knew you weren't going to have Richburg. I mean, I guess you thought you didn't think McGlinchey would regress like this, but it's not like he was a stud anyway. You knew this was your biggest issue after the Super Bowl. It's one of the main reasons you lost in the fourth quarter, and they never really took it seriously. They addressed the defensive line, not the offensive line.
Yeah, it's like this again. We do understand all the problems. Like, I did go off on Kyle a little bit regarding the quarterbacks, but they were in a real sticky situation with all those things. Like, that's absolutely true. It's absolutely one of the reasons, the season didn't work. But again, this offensive line, it just comes back to what we talked about, Like, they didn't address this offensive line, Like, I don't know where they could have been, like, in thinking in their head that Weston Richburg was going to come back. I remember reading from some online doctor, one of the PFF doctors or whatever, when the moment he tore his patella, he's like, that's a torn patella, and he's going to be out all of next year. It was there. People thought it. So I'm sure that the Niners medical staff isn't dumb. I'm sure they would have been telling him, well, it's most likely that he's not going to come back. And, Richburg has had a torn quad and a torn patella. Who knows if he's going to even ever be the same? And they didn't have the interior offensive line at all. And it's the same thing. They tried to rebuild something that didn't work. We spent $3.5 million on a right guard and Mike Person. Let's spend the same $3.5 million on Tom Compton. And it's just one for one. Oh, we lost to Forrest Buckner. Let's pay Eric Armstead. Let's get Javon Kinlaw. We're going to have the same team. We're going to go back and do the same thing. Well, guess what? You didn't win the Super Bowl. Only the Chiefs can do the same thing again because it worked for them. No matter the variables, no matter what happened, it didn't happen.
I feel like the Niners created their own bad luck to an extent. Bringing back the three quarterbacks that you felt weren't good enough and putting them behind the offensive line that couldn't pass protect, and you knew you weren't going to have Richburg. You just were asking for bad stuff to happen. I think things snowballed from there. But to me, what's so interesting about this offseason is I think a lot of people, a lot of Niner fans feel like, well, just bring in Trey Lance, we're good. Just bring in a mobile quarterback, all problems are solved. And to which I say, no. Absolutely not. First of all, what you need is a guy with pocket presence, not a guy with wheels. Watch Lance.
Right.
Tell me if he has pocket presence. Tell me if he feels pressure in the pocket or if he just gets bumped into and starts running. You watch.
I haven't watched enough Lance, but I'll say the number one example of this is a guy that I loved when he was on the 49ers, and Colin Kaepernick. Outstanding runner, one of the best runners I've ever seen from the quarterback position. Easy, long speed, just outstanding runner. He was horrible at moving in the pocket. He was horrible. Slow-footed. He didn't always have presence on where to move in the pocket. It was one of his bigger problems when the offensive line, big Anthony Davis and all of that. Like, people were comparing him to Russell Wilson. They were like, wait, Russell Wilson's line sucks. And he's
quick and elusive.
All of this. Yeah. And it was the big thing with Kaepernick. So that's just the issue. That's the big issue. For me, like, if you bring in a rookie quarterback, he's such an unknown. So I throw out Matthew Stafford all the time. You bring in Matthew Stafford, and I've never said they're going to win Super Bowls. And the reason I don't say Super Bowls and I say MVPs is because he's going to do better in the regular season and stuff. But this offensive line is still this offensive line. And at some point, Matthew Stafford is going to get affected by that. And that might be the playoffs where, you play the Minnesota Vikings and Danielle Hunter is all over you. Or you play the New Orleans Saints and Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport and Trey Hendrickson are just killing you. So Matthew Stafford would be better in the short term, but the goal is Super Bowl. And with this offensive line, he still wouldn't be able to win the Super Bowl.
Let's make it real clear, real simple. A team cannot win a Super Bowl with Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. Now, the Niners got close last year, but Mike McGlinchey is trending in a different direction. He's losing weight, and I don't know. 2020, Mike McGlinchey might have been the worst right tackle in the NFL. Maybe there are some backups who got thrust into duty who aren't as good as him, but guys who were supposed to be starters, he's got awful. And unless the Niners are real confident that he's going to put on 20 pounds and a bunch of strength and come back playing like he did a couple of years ago, which was like a mediocre level anyway, they need to have a plan B there. And I don't know what that is, Vish. They're in a weird spot this offseason. They only have one first-round pick.
they're in a weird spot in all the positions that everybody says is a need. And, I think I'm a little less hard on the offensive line than you. I've talked about how I think all offensive line playing the NFL is bad. And, if a quarterback can move and all those things. And yes, it'll help the Niners offensive line to an extent, but that doesn't mean that the Niners offensive line doesn't need to be upgraded. It absolutely
It's not
does.
good enough.
Right.
It's not good enough. From center to right guard to right tackle.
Right, you bring my guy, Matthew Stafford. I'll just keep bringing him up. You bring him in, he's gonna make the offensive line look better than Jimmy and Nick Mullins. Absolutely,
No question.
It'll be average. It'll be good enough. But then there'll still be a game where the offensive line and Mike McGlinchey, people pin their ears back. Like Tom Brady made it work with the year Dante Scarnecchia retired. Tom Brady made it work with that patchwork offensive line all year, and then they went into Denver, and Von Miller and DeMarcus were teed off, and even Tom Brady couldn't do anything, and he's one of the best pocket movers we've ever seen.
That's right. So what I'm saying is, look, the Niners, say the Niners are lucky enough to get Zach Wilson. He's going to do a much better job behind this line than Jimmy and Nick, because Zach Wilson's a good athlete, but he's still going to get hit. It's still not good enough. And then, God forbid, Zach Wilson gets hurt behind this offensive line, and then it's like, well, you just compromised your investment, putting him in a bad situation that you knew was bad. And then guess who's coming in next? Nick Mullins again. So you're in the same position you were in last year. So really, just drafting a quarterback may not be the quick fix. I mean, the Niners have two issues on offense, and they're interlocked.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. And I feel like there's two schools of thinking right now. There's the offensive line is not that good. It's the quarterback issue. And then there's the quarterbacks will all look better between the offense. And if the offensive line was improved, guess what? My favorite answer to this question, there's nuance. It's somewhere in between.
It's both.
It's both.
Neither unit was good enough coming into this season. It was not a bad luck issue. It was a misjudgment on offensive line and at quarterback, and they got to find a way to fix both this offseason with limited cap space, 40 free agents, and limited draft picks. It's a very tough spot, but Kyle's smart. He can figure it out. He created the situation for himself. So, Kyle, let's see what you do.